We've known this guy this is coming up on almost 10 years when he was back on our podcast days, rocking an old 1980 and 85 Bears Ditka jersey, sweater back in the day. Enjoyed his work, obviously, on New Girl. My kids loved Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And next up, however, is something that I'm going to have to put the kids away for when it streams on Netflix starting up on this Friday. It is called Hoops, an animated comedy. Phil Lord and Chris Miller have been on this show, speaking of Spider-Verse and the Lego movie. They are the EPs, and this is a funny show that Jake Johnson is starring in as the high school coach at the center of it all. And Jake Johnson back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Jake?
I'm great, Rich. How are you? Nice speaking with you.
Better for talking to you. How's everything in your life? Everybody hopefully happy, healthy, safe?
Yeah, we're doing fine, and I'm going to tell you what OG you missed out on. I don't think it's Mitch Trubisky who needs to win.
Yes.
And to be honest, Nick Foles does not need to win, but there is an OG
yes.
in a Chicago uniform who needs it, and that's Mack.
Khalil Mack. Okay.
He is a dominant player. I'm so happy we have him. We're spending a lot of money, and he was single-handedly going to be the guy who took our defense and reminded us what the mid-'80s were like in Chicago.
Yep.
And I'm a big fan. I'm glad we have him. This is the year the Bears' defense is supposed to just dominate Foles again.
Well, I think you need it, is the whole thing. I don't know what the hell happened to the offense last year whatsoever. I mean, what did you think of when you heard Foles got acquired, Jake? What did you think of that?
You know, I'll tell you, I really wanted Cam. I don't, and this is not against Nick Foles, because Nick Foles is a winner.
No, sure.
But I don't understand what is going on with decision makers in the NFL. Cam Newton is a stud. He is a franchise quarterback who had been playing injured and playing his heart out. If you're in Chicago and you have a chance for Cam Newton for not a lot of money on a one-year deal, Cam Newton in Chicago with that defense, I don't understand why we didn't do it. I was really hoping to hear that there was some injury report that we weren't getting. And then when the Patriots got him and everything's checking out fine, Rich, I got to tell you, I'm a little confused what's going on.
Brother, we were sitting here pounding the table for this very idea back in April, back in May. Obviously, you know, the Foles trade happened, and that was the end of that. But I don't get it. That one, I don't understand it. And
I'll tell you another thing I don't get is this idea that if you don't know the playbook we're trying to do, like Nick Foles, he knows the system, right? So I get it. That helps. Don't you want the best players available?
Jake, I hear you. The whole thing is, here's what I think it is. I think it is that if they did go to Cam, that would have been, this is like, for the lack of a better phrase, a half measure, which is something that, you know, it's difficult to call when you acquire a Super Bowl MVP, as Foles is one of the few humans to walk around planet Earth with that on his resume. But I think if you go Cam, then you're essentially saying that's it for Mitchell, that at least this is, and in case of 2019 Trubisky break glass, right? Where I think that's the only reasonable explanation I could come up with.
Let me put it in a way that I could try to relate to this, Rich.
Yes.
And in my industry, in our industry, could you imagine auditioning for a role like to act in something? Okay. And the person the studio puts next to you to audition for that role, they're thinking, Jake will probably beat him because he's not that good. Or should they put the best available to see if I can rise to the occasion? If I'm Mitch Trubisky, and I'm not against Mitch Trubisky, I like him still.
Yes.
He's a young core. He's not the guy I wanted drafted exclusively because I had never heard of him.
So you're basically saying in this equation that Nick Foles is not the Meryl Streep that we're talking about.
That's exactly. They're saying the reason we don't want Cam Newton is because we think he might be better than Mitch Trubisky.
Right. And
I'm a little confused of what I'm watching.
I think that literally is what it is. And we had Matt Nagy on a few weeks ago, and he said that the one thing that Trubisky needs to work on is not get down when the mistake gets made, and not to get too high when something's so great, but not get down when don't get too hard on himself when the mistakes get made. And after the conversation, I'm like, well, getting Nick Foles, isn't that something that's going to trigger that whole negativity and second thought process? I don't know. I just hope for the best for you here. And I guess, do you want if Trubisky starts, do you want him to work out, or do you have such a lack of confidence in him that you just want to see what Foles has got going on?
No way. First of all, I'm not against Mitch Trubisky as a Bears fan. I like him. I think he's a good quarterback. I think what happened last year, which was, because he gets hit hard. Mitch Trubisky is at his best when he runs for like 40 yards. When Mitch Trubisky is running around, throwing the ball, and just playing football, he's a pretty good quarterback, and he might actually be really good. Last year, I don't know if he got hurt early, like his shoulder injury, and I don't know if they told him stop running because we can't win with the backup, Chase Daniel. But you got to let it rip a little bit.
Jake, here on this show, and again, Jake Johnson here, and we'll talk about hoops in a second. On this show, we would call what you just did with talking about Trubisky and hoping it works out. You went higher register. And when you go higher register in your voice, that indicates that you're not really into that. Like, hey, when you go higher register, it kind of undercuts the statement that somebody's making. I don't know if you feel that way, but I think you just did that.
So here's where it is, Rich. I'm not a huge college football fan.
Okay.
Right? I've never been into it. I've always been into pros.
Yes.
I saw Deshaun Watson playing the national championship.
Yes, you did.
And I haven't watched his season or his career. Wow, was he good? He not only that, his head coach, who I don't know much about, came out and said, This guy is such a leader. He's like the Michael Jordan of college football.
That resonates with a Bears fan. I'm a Chicago sports fan, I'd imagine. Yeah.
So at that point, I think we had the number 3 pick, and I was looking at the mock drafts. And I said, I think there's a chance the Michael Jordan of college football, who I saw with my own eyes, he was good. And so I started reading, and I thought, wow, we might have Watson as our quarterback for 10 years. Then, Rich, the night of the draft, we trade up 3-2.
Yes, you do.
Now, I'm not going to lie. I didn't know who Patrick Mahomes was, and I didn't want him. So I was wrong there. But I knew who Watson was. When we traded up, I thought, I'm a man in my 40s. I think I'm buying a Watson jersey. When they said the name Mitchell Trubisky, I thought it was a prank.
Roger Goodell isn't involved in punked. I don't think he usually does that sort of stuff. No, he doesn't punk people.
I was like, Mitchell Trubisky. And then I Googled him, and I read he was a backup at North Carolina. Rich, I'm going to be honest, I didn't realize North Carolina had a football team.
We've got Jake Johnson here on the Rich Eisen Show. I've got about 4 minutes left in a conversation, so I definitely want to talk about your show, Hoops, which is, we've got Rob Riggle coming on Thursday, and it is a funny, not safe for kids animated series in which you play a high school coach who hopes that turning around your terrible team gets you to the big time. Who do you channel as the coach here?
Kind of all the coaches growing up that I watched on TV who were so loud and abusive and ridiculous, and culturally we celebrated these guys. I think there's been a shift that these guys are now being seen as just being poorly behaved. But there was a period of time where they were seen as, heroes. And what this show is a super funny, super vulgar, super loud animated show for adults. And I can't emphasize that enough. the first minute, there's probably 10 F-bombs. So if you are an individual who is easily, offended, Hoops is not for you. But this is one of those shows where there's no lesson to it. There's no heart to it. There's no messaging. It's just, we got a bunch of really funny comedians, Rob Riggle being one of them, Natasha Leggero, Ron Funches, Nick Swartz, and the list goes on, and we just let everybody rip.
Yeah, I mean, when the most family-friendly is Swartzen, you know what you got going on right here. So,
and there's not a moment of sweetness in this show. It is vulgarity on top of vulgarity for the sake of it. And, I personally grew up in a house where loud jokes were always celebrated. And so this reminds me of just people trying to be funny for the sake of being funny, and I hope people enjoy it.
Well, I mean, that's going to be starting streaming on Netflix on this Friday, and my kids would be upset if I didn't ask, is there another Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse coming with you and for the kids to be feasting on?
I know that they have started, they're working on it. I know Phil and Chris are always pushing, and they've been talking ideas. Peter B. Parker has not gotten the call yet. So
okay.
he is sitting on the sidelines eating pizza, hoping that somehow the Bears trade for Deshaun Watson.
Jake, I hate to tell you, man, that's just not going to happen, sadly.
It might.
Yeah, maybe in another dimension, right? Maybe in another dimension. Always enjoy the chats, Jake. Do you still have that sweater? That 85 Bears sweater? Does it still fit you?
I do. Well, I mean, during quarantine, I bet it's a little tight in the middle. But
Great chatting with you, Jake. You take care of yourself, and let's do this again real soon, hopefully in person next time, okay?
You too, my friend. Be safe.
Right back at you. That's Jake Johnson, at Mr. Jake Johnson on Instagram. Check him out. Oh, man. Is there one more? Oh, yeah, there's one last still from Hoops that we haven't gotten to, and it's an outrage. I don't know what's this. This is supposed to be me. I don't get it. I don't have a soul patch. My eyes don't look like that.
I mean, Rich.
Maybe you
Did they? I don't know. Did they use a photograph of Jim Gray instead of me?
Oh.
Jim Gray.
Wilford Brimley?
Rest in peace.
No, this is Wilford Brimley from because I'm at the
Oh,
Brimley
you're-
line right
you're-
now,
oh,
right?
you mean the Wilford
You're
cocoon.
at the Brimley line. By the way, absolutely. Rest in peace, Wilford Brimley.
Wilford Brimley.
That happened while we were
That's
gone.
right. I know, that's right.
Talking about that.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.